Hello everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Ancient Shark Week. You remember last time we started work on this excellent aquarium you see right here. So before I tell the story of how things keep evolving and we get our first cartilaginous fish in this episode, I will talk real quickly about this thing that I made. Conodonts, distant relatives of the agnathans, or jawless fish, and now they have a place in here. I also put some megalograptus skeletons, and this little room is supposed to transition us from the smaller tunnel of these windows of the past into what will be an enormous atrium right here. And as you can see, I have this all filled out, but there isn't really anything here yet. So this atrium right here will be the Siluran Atrium, and we are going to fill it up with so many tanks, more than any time period before. Let's head back to our third time period. Breathe that noxious air. We are here in the Silurian period. You'll soon discover that both animals and plants have taken their first tentative steps onto land. But down in the water, things are still thriving. It's during this period that we see the very first free-swimming crinoids, and some of our first tabulate corals, something that'll go extinct far before the modern day. At the end of the last period, the Ordovician, the Earth froze over, threatening to kill all life. 85% of life on the planet died, but by this time period, things have bounced back pretty well. We still have relatives of those orthocones, though they do not grow anywhere near as big as they had in the Ordovician. Now, this is a period of transition, when the arthropods ruled over us before start to lose their grasp, and some fish start to take over. Do you see that? Those are some very familiar looking animals right there. Look, here are some more. Guyu. Definitely seeing our Eurypterid enemies swimming around. And there we go. Our third species of fish. In this little deep patch here, a coral cleft, we find ourselves a very, very important fish. Over here we find Chilinu. Anyways, our expedition should be fine to come to a close. This right here is our Silurian chest, and above it is a fossil of the second most significant fish we'll be looking at from this time period. We're gonna get started on a very, very special enclosure here. Alright, so to plan this out, this is as far this way as the wall is gonna come. I'm thinking we have a series of archways right here, along the side, and we can keep tanks in here. Alright, so starting out on either side, we're gonna have two species of jawless fish that I think exemplify the evolution of fish. Our progression from these strange, rather esoteric looking creatures into something that resembles, you know, fish. Alright, it took a lot of planning to get this how I wanted it, but I think here we have a nice, huge open area that we can put stuff in the middle for this Siluran Exhibit. And in the sides here, we have spots for multiple tanks. Alright, things just keep evolving, changing, but here we go. We have 4 of these glass tanks around here. So we'll do these one side at a time. Here is where we're going to put Burkenia. Just put 5 of these. That should be a good number. And then on the opposite side over here, we're going to put some Flebolepis, which are some of the most adorable fish you will have ever seen. Alright, let's cover the first 2 of these fishies. In here, we have Burkenia. This was a jawless fish that lived during the Silurian period, and I'm choosing to highlight it here because its body shape is very fish-like. You can see clearly the development between the older forms and forms that have a much more torpedo-shaped body, more streamlined for swimming through the water. And then over here, honestly, I picked these because they're cute, but this is Flebolepis. It's a thaliodont agnathid, jawless fish, from the late Silurian period. They're very cute. These were found in Russia and Estonia. And you'll be seeing some more thalidont, or thaliodont, not sure how it's pronounced. Maybe somebody in the comments will know. Fish, very soon. Let's get working on the next 2 of these tanks. Alright, a lot more fidgeting with the design of everything. I think I'm gonna settle on this. This is the wall that's gonna come out, and it's gonna be the big wall of the atrium. But it's time for us to put our creatures in, and I have these kind of color-coded to the color of the creatures in the mod. And here is a very important fish. This is Chilinu. Now, Chilinu might not look particularly interesting to you, but maybe you can view that armored plated head. So this right here, Chilinu, is the first evidence of the fossil record we have of a fish, which we call placoderms. You'll learn more about placoderms next episode when we travel to the Devonian. Long story short, they're fish with large exoskeleton-like plates, which made up their faces. I did lots and lots of research for this series, as you could probably see by the board, but I couldn't find a clear connection to where a lot of these groups split off. From my understanding, all very modern groups of fish, whether it be bony fish, jawed fish, placoderms, all share a common ancestor, but it's unclear where that common ancestor lies. Alright, so when I recorded this, I did in fact lie. As it turns out, Entelognathus here is a very important fish that we didn't even talk about. Entelognathus right here is the oldest known fish with a jaw. Jawed placoderms like Entelognathus, according to our current scientific understanding, are actually considered to be the common ancestors of many groups of fish, including the placoderms, which we'll look at next episode, and over here, the cartilaginous fish and the bony fish. Alright, let's go back to the video. The most important thing is by the end of the Silurian period, we have fish like Chilinus swimming around, these early placoderms. By the end of the Silurian, the other group of fish that's shown up is jawed fish. Now we talked about the Silurian being an age of transition between a world ruled by arthropods and a world ruled by vertebrates, and jaws have to be the most important adaptation for that world to occur. This right here is Guiu. Guiu? If you do know how to pronounce it, let me know in the comments. But this is the very first jawed fish that we know of. Something I should probably bring up about Guiu and its contemporaries, which we'll see soon, is that they are considered to be lobefin fish. Now, there's a distinction between lobefin fish, Sarcopterians, and rayfin fish, Actinopterygians. And that is something which is incredibly important to our history as life on this planet, but not the history of sharks. So if you want to learn more about evolution of life onto land and things like that, I strongly recommend you go check out the series by the Paleocast Gaming Network. He did an awesome job explaining all this stuff. Anyways, I am quite proud of what we have at the sides of the atrium, but it's now time to put something in the middle. The next tank that we're going to make to fill out the middle of this atrium area is going to be one filled with various Sarcopterian fish from the end of the Silurian period. Here's what this tank looks like. I'm trying to decide if this glass is good enough, easy enough to see through, or if we should replace it with a different type of glass. This is all full of a beautiful crinoid garden. Megamastax, a huge Sarcopterian from the late Silurian, and Saurolepis, a Sarcopterian from the late Silurian with, instead of teeth, 2 teeth whorls there. Alright, and now we have the boundaries of this whole atrium figured out. We're gonna start putting in the very last thing in this atrium area. Here is a place we are going to use actual glass. Alright, so here at the very end of the atrium we have a lovely shallow pool kind of exhibit here with a large land structure here. And if you're wondering why I did that, well, remember I talked about how the first life came on land during the Silurian plants, Zostrophyllum and Cooksonia. If we turn up the tick speed just a little bit, you'll see that all of this will start spreading and growing rapidly. I've intentionally split this area into 2 things so we can have one animal on each half. In this larger half, we're going to put 4 different species of various jawless fish to just show that during the Silurian period, these fish exploded in diversity. And this is just a sample. You have a Eugalliaspis, an Ateliaspis, a Hemichylaspis, Platoon, and a Buthiaspis. I guess we'll put 2 of each. And you can see that these prehistoric Roomba fish here, which used holes in their mouth to sift through sediment, resemble a lot the feeding strategies of many sharks, like nurse sharks, wobbegongs, horn sharks, and more. But I want to draw your attention with that same thought to this animal. This is the lotus. The lotus is a jawless fish from the Silurian that looks a whole lot like one of those prehistoric sharks. Keep in mind, it's not one of those sharks, but it's an example of something we've talked about earlier. Convergent evolution, when 2 animals who are unrelated evolve a similar body shape or features because they're advantageous for survival. Anthelotus and other thelodont fish, such as these Phlebilepis over here, were very successful at the end of the Silurian. The aquarium will diverge into two very distinct paths for you to travel down. It's during the next time period, the Devonian, that we will see the dawn of what you would truly consider to be sharks as we see them today. But many other traits that sharks possess can be seen in other such creatures that lived during the Devonian. Many of those armored fish, the placoderms that we keep talking about. Through one of these gates, you'll discover the world of the placoderms of the Devonian, and how many of their features evolved separately but similarly to how those of sharks evolved. Through the other gate, you'll continue the odyssey that we started down with the evolution of fish, and see the sprouting of the brand new sharks. In 2 separate upcoming episodes, we'll start building these 2 separate areas of the aquarium. But since we're not done with the Silurian quite yet, let's get started right now. Through here, through this door, you will find the lineage of sharks. Here's where we'll be going next episode, and here's where we'll be going the episode after that, but starting a little bit today. Alright, so there's more work in progress stuff being done in this aquarium, and this tank right here is going to be our very first creature in this lineage that leads to sharks, and I hope you're all excited to see that. Get out of here, grass. You don't evolve until after the dinosaurs. It's not varied enough, so now we're going to mix in some gravel and sand. And in the top, we're going to put in Cooksonia. And in the bottom, this one is going to be nice and simple. We are just going to put in some green algae. You know what? Maybe this one Devonian protoplant, even though it's anachronistic, will go well with the creature in here. You know what? I think that's a pretty good looking tank. We put the Nera Piscicanthus. This is what we call an acanthodian, or spiny shark. These are the first cartilaginous fish that we have had. If you don't know, cartilaginous fish are almost exclusively made up of sharks and rays. They're nicknamed spiny sharks because they are not considered true sharks, or part of the group that sharks are from. But if you took a look at one, you would clearly see that it's destined to become something glorious. And I never showed you guys what the pathy looks like. So this way, to continue the shark lineage, we walk into a dark tunnel. 425 million years ago? Ontario, Canada. Here we go. By the way, I did not open these doors. These doors open and close on their own. So everybody, with that, I will wrap up today's episode. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. By the next episode, the atrium will be completely finished, with a beautiful roof that lets natural light in so that you can view the creatures with the sun shining down upon them. Next episode, you'll also see whatever goes this way. So I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time when we move on to the Devonian